The Ski to Sea race is one of the largest events of the year in Whatcom County. Joining us to talk about the history of the race and its impact on our community are Larry Bussinger and Anna Rankin, two people who know a lot about the race. Welcome to Bellingham Voices.
Thank you.
So, what is your involvement with the Ski to Sea race? Larry?
I was a racer for a number of years, and then in 1990 I got involved with the Ski to Sea committee, and then I'm on the board of directors now.
Okay.
So I've been around for quite a while.
I think you're being a little humble.
Yeah.
I think yeah.
When you say a number of years,
A number of
Larry,
years. How many years did you participate
This
in the
year
race?
will be my 35th race.
Okay.
And,
In participating in some way,
And participating
shape, or form.
in, yes,
Okay, and how many years did you actually physically participate in the race?
35 years.
35 years.
Yeah, 35 races.
35 races.
Yeah.
Okay. And now you're on the board of directors.
I'm on the board of directors.
Okay,
Yep.
wonderful. Wow. Anna, can you top that?
No, not even close. I haven't even been in Bellingham 35 years.
But you're in the race committee.
I'm actually the executive director and race director.
Okay.
So I oversee the race committee.
Okay.
And this will be my 4th year involved in the race and my 3rd year as the race director.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Larry, give us a little history of the race. This has taken on a lot of different incarnations over the years, right? There's talk that it originated as the Mount Baker Marathon, but then
Well, the
Inspirations.
the inspiration is
Yeah.
the right word.
Okay.
Originally in 1911, 1913, they had a race that went from Bellingham to the top of Mount Baker, Ironman. Any way you could get to the top of the mountain, and any way you could come back down. So
going up.
Going up.
Wow. Okay.
So at the top of the mountain. So they ran, they used locomotives, they used Model Ts to get up top. But somebody fell in a crevasse one of the years and they decided, no, this is way too dangerous. So they stopped.
Okay.
But then you fast forward 60 years, and for the Blossom Time Festival, they came up with the inspiration, another one, to do a multi-leg race from Mount Baker to Bellingham, and to showcase basically Whatcom County, all the things that you can do here. And so that's really what was conceived. There were 6 legs. They had Nordic cross country, they had downhill skiing, they had running, they had road biking down to Everson, they had canoeing and kayaking down the Nooksack, and then when you got to the bay, they sailed across.
Oh, there was sailing
They were sailing.
at one point. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. And then over the years, that has changed as well,
There
right?
it has. They've modified it. Originally, the Nordic cross country skiing downhill, they would start out at the same time, meet at the top of one of their chairs, and then make a handoff with a baton.
Huh.
And then the downhillers would come down and hand it to the runner. Runner would run down to the maintenance station road maintenance station there, hand off to the the runner would run down there, hand it off to the bicycle. The bicycle then would run it into the Nooksack River. Usually, sometimes it was at Nooksack and sometimes it was Everson.
Uh-huh.
And then they would canoe from there.
Uh-huh.
And at one time, the canoeing and kayaking were both together on that.
Interesting.
And eventually they said, okay, no, you got to just do canoeing.
Right.
And they moved, in 1990, we added kayaking leg along with the sailboats because it wanted to have human power. The sailboats would get out there and then stall because there wasn't any wind, stuff
Right.
like that. So they said, well, okay,
Right.
well, let's put kayaks in there. And then it's human powered the entire race. And they had the two of them for about 2 or 3 years, and then sailboats went away. And they changed the course then. So, well, it used to go, the canoeing would finish at the delta between the Nooksack and the bay. So there'd be big tide flats out there. They'd hand it to the canoer or kayaker, and then they'd go over to Marine Park. Eventually, we added a cyclocross. So then it went from cross country to downhill to runner to road bike to canoeing, and then they hand it to a cyclocross bicycle, and then they would bike into Zwanich Park, hand it to the kayaker there, and then the kayak would take a Z-shaped course over to Marine Park.
That's how we do it now. That's the current.
Yeah.
I think I remember when the mountain bike leg was added. Was that the most recent leg?
It is.
The most recent change?
It is, yeah.
It's
that
mountain
was-
bike / cross country. There really isn't mountain biking course. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that
it's
was
not- it's
added
not a
in the
road biking.
90s.
Yes.
And we called it Mountain Bike Lake for quite some time, and then just a couple of years ago decided to change that to cyclocross, which is what it really is. Some trails, some roads,
Okay.
some obstacles, and everything to make it a true cyclocross course.
Okay.
And the interesting thing I wanted to interject, the original proposal to the Chamber of Commerce in the 70s for the Ski to Sea race included, I think, 9 legs, and it had horseback riding and water skiing and all of these crazy things.
Water skiing?
Water skiing.
Wow.
Yeah, that never came to fruition, but it's interesting, whoever this person is that asked the chamber to start the race had a lot of crazy ideas, and only a couple of those were incorporated in the first year.
That's amazing. Whose idea was it? When did this start? For the kayaker, not only is the kayaker kayaking across the Bellingham Bay, but in order to finish the race, they have to get out of their kayak and run
To the finish line.
up the shore and ring the bell.
Gotta
That
have
seems
that
kind
bell.
of
Gotta have
cool,
that
guys.
bell.
That seems
That-
I
kinda
mean, we have a bunch of pictures in the office from the 80s, and the bell and the sailboats and everything are in those pictures.
Really?
They're great pictures of just people hanging out in Marine Park with their, short shorts and
Yeah.
camel t-shirts and just hanging out in the park. Some really great images.
So the bell has always been the finish line.
I don't know about always, but I've seen it in images going back to the 80s. So
You just feel sorry for some of those kayakers. Their legs are like
Right.
rubber, and they're running up the shore.
yeah, you have to have something, I think, that really indicates the end, as opposed to just pulling up your boat and being done right
Sure.
there at the shore.
That's
Sometimes
true.
a couple of them come in at the same time too. So
Yeah, yeah. You must have some great stories, Larry. When you participated in the race, what was your favorite leg?
Oh, for me, kayaking.
Kayaking. Oh, so you were the rubber legs running up the shore.
I did the cross-country skiing leg once.
Uh-huh.
Swore I would never do that one again.
Why not?
I had the wrong skis.
Okay.
Snow was bad. This is when
What
we-
year was this?
Oh my God. Well, it's been 35 years ago.
So,
Or
okay.
40.
Do the math. Okay.
Someplace back there. But this is when the two of you had to meet at the top.
Uh-huh.
So I remember getting my skis on. I put my head down and I'm going like crazy. I look up and just almost stopped in my tracks because the guys that were in first were going up over the first ridge. They were so far ahead of me. And I had probably 3 inches of snow stuck to the bottom of my skis. So it was kind of like running with concrete shoes on. And I always remember that there was a gal beside me, and I would out-muscle her going up the hill, and it would level off, and she would pass me. And we did that all the way to, till we got to the top. And I remember getting up there, and I was in good shape, young, but I was dry heaving, bent over, trying
Ooh.
to catch my breath, and some guy says, "Hey, can you help me?" And I look up, and there's this guy, he's about 6'2", he's brown, California tan on him, he's in cutoffs and a t-shirt. And I'm thinking to myself, what could he possibly want? He said, yeah. He looks down at his shoes and says, "How do I get out of these skis?" Okay. So that was my
So
last year of
did you help him?
cross-country skiing.
You helped him, obviously.
Hell yeah, I did.
Of course. Is there a lot of camaraderie on the race, on the course, between participants? What are some stories there?
When I was planning this talk, and the tall tales,
Yeah.
it's all about the camaraderie.
Yeah.
You train for a lot of years, and of course, some people do this thing to win. Those are the Olympians, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's people who do it just to finish. It's a challenge. That's what their thing is. They just want to be able to say they finished the race.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some that they train, but you're competing against your buddies that you've trained with all year. So all you really want to do is beat them.
Right.
But you come up with these stories that are fun, And so depending on what your need is when you do this race, there's all kinds of stories, and they all have a lot of different flavor.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it goes both ways there. We used to have a rule that if the road biker got a flat or something, that no one was allowed to help them. It was just an automatic DQ. And we changed that a couple of years ago to where if a road biker is passing another road biker and they have a patch kit or something that can help, they can stop and help. That person's not disqualified unless they accept the help of an automobile. I think that if that happened with some of the podium-bound competitive teams, they wouldn't even think for a second to stop because their goal is to get that first place award. But I think once you have those top teams go by, and not to say that those teams don't, like Larry said, have a sense of camaraderie. They do. I just don't know that they would stop to help someone if it interfered with their win.
Part of the mentality of that group of people too is that the guy who would have a flat wouldn't expect
Right,
the other
of
guy to
course.
stop.
Oh, of course not.
These guys are all top racers.
In the first top racers. But once you start trickling down and you start getting a third of the way through the heat, I think almost everyone would stop and take a couple of moments to help someone.
And I think in canoeing and kayaking, the same thing. If somebody goes over, it's expected that the next boat coming to them will help them, will rescue them and help them get back in their boat.
Oh, if it's a rescue,
Sure.
for sure. That's a different
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
I don't know who would say, nah, first
No,
or
yeah.
rescue.
Yeah. Well, that brings up another point that there are different. There are different groups. What are they?
Divisions.
Divisions. Yes, there's different divisions with the race, right? Tell us about those a little bit.
Yes, there's 15 different divisions. Some of those are broken down into subdivisions. So the main ones, there's a competitive and a recreation division. So if you're a competitive team full of elite athletes, you would go for that division. Recreation are more just the people that Larry illustrated that are people that just simply want to finish the race. Those are all broken down into open and mixed teams depending on the male and female ratio of the teams. Then we have an all Whatcom County division where the whole entire team has to reside in Whatcom County. There's a masters division where everyone needs to be over the age of 40. There's a veterans division, which has nothing to do with military, but rather veterans of the race.
Okay.
So the combined age of all racers is 385. So you can have some 60 and 70-year-old racers, and you can have some 30-year-old racers as long as the combined age meets that.
Is at least 385.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then we have the high school division. This year we made the first 20 high school teams to register free. That was a board decision for the first time this year. So we already have more teams right now than we did the last couple of years in the high school division. We already have 10 teams registered. And then we have my favorite, although I'm not supposed to say, the car-free division, where they are doing the whole entire race without any automobile. So that includes their gear. So the skier needs to get to the top of Mount Baker by bicycle. They need to do their leg of the race, and they need to come down. Some people haul their own gear. Some people have people that will haul their gear for them, and they just show up. But that we're kind of doing a challenge this year with the car-free teams, trying to get some of the teams that have been competing year after year and some of the competitive teams to try a new challenge for themselves. We're actually doing a car-free presentation coming up, and we're setting people up with mentors. So if people are considering a car-free team, there's an experienced mentor who will help them with the logistics and the equipment and everything of the race. So
Wonderful.
That is completely human-powered. So you look at those guys at the mountain, and they're basically doing a century ride, and then they're doing their leg, and then they're doing another century ride to get down. And I just, as
That's
a
crazy.
cyclist, I think it's really pretty awesome. And they spend all weekend together. That's real, like, camaraderie. Those folks are together for the whole weekend, just camping out and having fun with each other. So I think that is all of the divisions. Yeah. So
Okay.
the rec, the competitive, and the Whatcom County are all broken down into the 3 categories. So when all is said and done, there's 15 divisions. So what I love about that is there is something for everyone. You can be a team that just wants to finish. You can be a team who, is vying for your spot on the podium, but there's room for everyone side by side. And we also put in effect something that allows every racer to finish their leg. We have an early release, so if you're waiting and your racer's not there by X time of day, we give you a new timing chip and you start your leg and you're able to go. Then when that person comes in, we match the times up. So those times don't usually happen the day of, and those teams aren't eligible for awards, but it allows every single person on the team to race and to finish their leg.
That's great. That's wonderful. Talking about the history of the race, going back a little bit again, and there was a time when there actually were batons, right, Larry? Wasn't there years ago?
Well, we call them baton. Actually, usually it was a wristband. Or
Wristband.
something. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it was always, as far as I can remember, it's always been some kind of a wristband or something you could put in a pocket or
Something to pass to the
something
next
to
person.
pass on. So there is
Yeah.
something you pass on, correct?
Okay. And what currently, what are we using now? You said a time chip or something like
It's
that.
a wristband with a chip in it,
Okay.
an elastic one, so you can slip it over and,
It's Velcroed, so you can put it on. Some, road bikers will tuck it into the back of their jersey. But yeah, basically you just hand that off to the person and then you secure it on your wrist. So if that is lost the morning of the race or any time during of the race, we have backup, timing in place, but it won't be, official timing without that chip.
Cool. Have you ever lost the?
Not personally,
Not personally.
but a lot of them have been lost. I mean, a lot of times they'll put them in a life vest or something like that, and someplace along the way it's fallen out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of chips laying between here and there.
How unique is this race? Do other communities do stuff like this, or are we?
There's
special?
a couple there. We are special, and we're so lucky. When I go to promote this race, even just in Seattle last weekend and Vancouver next weekend, but certainly places like we're going to Sea Otter in California, I am just amazed that we live in a place where we have this 93-mile natural course that goes from mountains to road to river, and that we can connect all of this. I think that in the Northwest, the two things that people equate to ski to sea are pole pedal paddle in Bend, and there's similar races around. The Bellingham Traverse is certainly could be
Sea one in
Sky
Canada
to Sea,
now.
Sky to Sea in
Sky to
Canada. So there certainly are some other places that have a team multi-sport race, but they don't span the distance or the amount of sports or anything that Ski to Sea does. So I think that it is very different, and we are very
unique,
special.
yeah.
How many people usually participate in the race? How many teams? What is an average?
Last year we had 370. That was up from the year before where we had 320. The race is capped at 500. We haven't seen it to full capacity in probably close to a decade. Certainly not since we took it over from the chamber 8 years ago. But last year we had about 2,500 racers. Last year was the first year that we allowed racers to do multiple legs. We've always just allowed people to do one leg at a time. So now people can do multiple, and we had about 40 people do 2 legs last year, and a handful of people do 3 legs. So that's really helped with the registration when people have a last-minute injury or they just can't find that cross-country skier. Someone else from the team can go ahead and step on board as long as the logistics work.
Talking along that same subject, there used to be 450 teams like that, and then one year there was no snow up Mount Baker, and
4 years ago.
And so the whole race kind of changed that one year, but it disrupted the team making. A lot of times, if once you formed a team,
Sure, yeah.
Maybe next year somebody drops out, but you pull somebody else in. So the teams that kind of stick together, but they morph slowly. But that year, a lot of teams just fell apart,
Sure.
and so you have to get the teams coming back together again. So I
Yeah.
think that's why the number of racing teams is down a little bit, because it takes a little bit of energy to put together a team.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if there's no snow, what are you going to do? There's nothing
Can't
you guys
ski-
can do.
can't
Is
ski with no
Yeah,
snow.
you add
Yeah.
another biking leg.
We worked it out. We had the race that year.
Yeah.
We added a mountain bike leg, and we started the run from the top of the mountain. Luckily, we haven't had that problem since, and we're certainly not going to have that problem this
Not
year.
this
but,
year.
it's the logistics are tough to figure out. The two things I hear the most is runners want to run on a trail instead of the pavement. People want a mountain bike leg instead. I would love that too, but like I say, we're lucky we live in this place where we have the course. We've looked into all of those things multiple times, but there's so much that goes into the race and working with permits and entities and law enforcement and everything. Safety is my number one thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into it, and I always tell people, if you think you have a plan, please bring it to me, and we'll look it over.
Well, speaking of that, how many volunteers do you have on that day?
We have on the day of
Yeah.
between 750 and 800.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Wow.
Yes. I did a story recently where someone broke it down and realized it's one volunteer for every 4 racers, which is great. I want that many people on the course, but that's people along the whole entire course, and there's people that help set up, but it takes a lot of people power, and luckily we have a lot of organizations that come back year after year, a lot of school groups and church groups and corporate groups that all volunteer together that help us fill out those numbers. So
Yeah, I've dealt with a lot of volunteers over the years, and they have as much fun as the racers do.
they do. They
A lot
do.
of time, we have a boat out on the bay, looking at kayakers, and they kind of get into it.
Yeah,
Finally,
we sign up volunteers up to the week of the race. So if someone's interested in volunteering, it's really easy. They just go to the website and fill out a little form. We give them a free lunch, and that's generously donated by Fred Meyer as part of their sponsorship. And they get a free T-shirt, and we do our best to place them where they want to be, and we do our best to place them with the people they want to be with. And people really do have fun on race day.
It's interesting being a community member on Ski to Sea Race Day, because around 3 o'clock you start seeing people with these Ski to Sea T-shirts on.
Yeah.
Right. And you think, you've been up for a long
Right,
time. The
right.
participant T-shirt. I'm
Yes.
saying, and it's like it's almost this stamp of, I deserve that beer leg at the end. It all ends in Fairhaven, and
I don't
and
think you're
it's like,
officially a Bellingham person unless you've done the race.
what?
Or
know?
supported it in some way.
I've participated in the final leg.
Right.
The beer,
Yes.
it's the beer
I don't know.
drinking leg,
Yeah,
and all ends in
official leg.
Fairhaven. I mean, isn't that an official leg of the Ski to Sea race? No,
Maybe
we can't
you're
say
making
that.
an honorary.
Right.
I mean, the thing that I love is that everybody has a story about Ski to Sea. I went to get my eye exam, and I think I was wearing my Ski to Sea hoodie, and the doctor doing my exam, and I've done every leg, and everybody has a story, whether that is as a racer or as a spectator or a supporter or as a sponsor. I mean, the race wouldn't happen without our sponsorship. Like, contrary to what people believe with the price of Ski to Sea, the registration price does not do enough to cover all of our expenses. So sponsorship, certainly the title sponsorship of People's Bank, who's been supporting it as long as I can remember, those are the things that keep this going. The city and the port and the county, all of the local entities are terrific and work with us. No one wants to see this event go away, but a couple of years ago we did have a bad year to where we had to dip into some funds we barely had. As a nonprofit organization, if a year like that was to happen 2 years in a row, our hands would be tied. So we rely on everyone in the community pitching in whatever way that they can to keep it going.
Wonderful,
Yeah,
wonderful.
It is truly a community event, just from the participants, but from the sponsorships to the volunteers the day of. So
I mean, we're only a couple years off here from the 50th anniversary. We'll be in 2023, and that's another thing about Ski to Sea that's so iconic, is the amount of time that it's been going on.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for being here today and giving us a glimpse into the history of the race and where we're at today with it. And it is really a unique thing. It's something that I am really proud of to be. I mean, not that I've ever participated, but it's something that I kind of feel a connection to, because I've lived here all my life. And,
Yeah.
And Larry, are you going to be participating this year?
yes,
How?
because to be out there in kayak.
Canoe? Oh, you're going to
Oh, you're going to kayak this year. Great.
Okay.
Will I see
Yeah.
you in the final leg and all ends in Fairhaven?
Oh, hey, I'm in training. I can't do
And,
that.
and you might see him up on the stage.
Yeah.
I
I've been
feel
there a
like
couple of times.
he gets up there pretty often.
Wonderful.
And yeah, I mean, I'm so honored to have this position for Whatcom events and work for an organization that gets people out recreating and in turns take proceeds from our events and give them to the local community to, basic needs and food banks and people that really need the services. So it really is just kind of the position of my dreams, and it's so easy to promote Ski to Sea and our other events.
Yeah. And Anna, it's ski2sea.com?
Ski2sea.com,
Okay.
correct. You can go there to, like I say, fill out a volunteer tab to volunteer,
Yep.
or to register, which is open now until a couple of days before the race.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Larry and Anna from Ski to Sea, the Ski to Sea race. And we'll see you next time with Bellingham Voices.
Yep.
Well, Memorial Day in Whatcom County always means ski to sea. Here's a look back from the KVOS archives. Check out the little shorts.